Welcome in 49ers faithful, Drew Kerr, 49ers Sports Talk. Today's Thursday, May 16th. In today's video, I'm going to talk about Matt Ryan in 2016 and how he pioneered and paved a path for Brock Purdy in 2024 to secure the MVP this time. He came very close last year. We're going to talk about the ways that he can win it this year. Please stay tuned as we dive in. So the first thing I just wanted to do is preface this by saying, by no means am I saying that Brock Purdy is Matt Ryan. They're two totally separate players, two different skill sets. There's a lot of different aspects about their individual games. So what I wanted to talk about more is how they did in Kyle Shanahan's system and talk about how Brock Purdy can take it to the next level. So I just wanted to clear that up. I'm not, the thumbnail might be a little bit misleading, like I'm saying Brock Purdy is the next Matt Ryan. He's not. Two different players, so I just wanted to get that out of the way right away. So the very first thing I wanted to do is kind of just lay the groundwork, set the bar. Matt Ryan, set the bar in 2016. There wasn't a better quarterback in the regular season than Matt Ryan in 2016. He took his team to the promised land. They fell short. A lot of people put that on Kyle Shanahan. I put that more on Dan Quinn. He was the head coach. He gets the lion's share of the responsibility. His defense fell apart in the second half. So that's not what this video is about, though. This is about Kyle Shanahan's system, how Matt Ryan played in it. And so I think the first thing that we need to look at is, the stats and kind of look at the side-by-side. So I wanted to bring this up. Matt Ryan had 373 completions out of 534 attempts, 69.9% completion rate, 4,944 yards. He had 38 touchdowns and only 7 picks, so he's very efficient. Purdy's stats are 308 completions, 440 out of 444 attempts, 69.4%, 4,280 yards, 31 touchdowns. He did have 11 picks, 4 more than Ryan there, and he did have 2 rushing touchdowns, which were basically just quarterback sneaks into the end zone. So the difference isn't dramatically different, but Ryan was clearly the best quarterback in the NFL in the 2016 regular season, like I mentioned before. Purdy can separate himself by using his legs more, I think. I think one of the elements that Purdy is kind of underrated on is his ability to scramble. We saw it in the playoffs. He didn't do it as much in the regular season. He did it a couple times, but I think where Purdy can separate himself is his ability to run. When he was out there scrambling, he looked a little bit like Steve Young or Russell Wilson, maybe closer comparison there, just because of the height disparity between, I guess Steve Young isn't that much taller than Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is about 6'1", a little bit shorter than 6'1". Steve is 6'2". I've seen him in person. I don't think that the difference in height is that much, but Steve just ran a little bit more like a running back. He was kind of built like a running back, but if you look at Purdy's lower body, the kid's got some quads. He almost, there was that play, I believe it was against the Lions, where he was running or maybe it was Green Bay. It's one of the playoff games, and the guy, he ran down. He looked like he was going to score. Debo missed a block, and the guy just bounced off of his thighs. So, I think that Purdy can add that element to his game this year and make himself extremely dangerous because of his short area quickness in the pocket. He's always looking to pass first. He's similar to Mahomes in that sense that he's looking downfield. He's not like one read and bolt. Like Kaepernick was a little bit more like one read and he's gone. He was like a gazelle when he took off. And that's not Brock Purdy either, but Brock Purdy can scramble. He can pick up 15, 20 extra yards if the defense is sleeping. So he can cut you, can hurt you like that. So I hope this element of his game evolves into this season. And I don't think Kyle Shanahan minds that. If the play's broken down and, he's executed all his reads and Purdy takes off, I think that that's going to be one area where Purdy can absolutely separate himself. He finished top 5 MVP voting last year. They based it on one game. I think they based it on one game. I don't know about you all, but if it's a regular season award, Lamar Jackson was a fraudulent MVP. A lot of people want to put him in the top 5 and all this stuff, but Lamar Jackson is not, head on Christmas should not have been the deciding factor. The guy's only thrown for over 3,000 yards twice in his entire career. He's more of a running back than a quarterback. His quarterback skills left a lot on the table or leave a lot to be desired. Lamar Jackson is not I think he's elite in some ways, but I don't think that he is a top 5 quarterback. Not in my book. I like my quarterbacks to, if they're going to be a dual threat, I like them to be able to pass. And, guys like Vince Young and players like that, Aaron McNair and Donovan McNabb showed and proved that they could pass in the league. They could sit in the pocket very clean and pass. And yeah, Lamar does have that ability, but it's so sporadic and so inconsistent. And I think even compared to his I think he did earn that first MVP. He had like a ridiculous amount of touchdowns. He took games over. But this last season, he wasn't that. So anyway, I'm done with the Lamar Jackson tangent. I don't think that Purdy could have finished second, third, but Dak Prescott and Josh Allen, I think, probably deserve that regular season award a little bit more than Lamar Jackson. I don't think Lamar Jackson was the MVP last year. So just one additional note, Brock Purdy did have more in-air yards in their respective seasons from 2016 to 2023. So I just wanted to make note of that. And they both did play 16 games. This was before they added the 17th game, so Matt Ryan clearly, played all the games. Brock Purdy sat out in week 18 last year to avoid injury. I mean, a lot of starters sat in week 18. So I just wanted to add that one little side note that they both did play the same amount of games, so there wasn't like an advantage. Purdy didn't play another game. But, as you can see in this next segment, that I'll go through some of the numbers a little bit deeper, and we'll see what Purdy kind of has to do to take the next step besides just running. So I just wanted to add that one note. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is the running back attempts. And the reason that I want to bring this up, it's very important because it does take away from passing attempts. And so in 2016, Atlanta had 421 rushing attempts. And they had, Devontae Freeman, they had Tevin Coleman. And in 2023, the Niners had 499, almost 500 rushing attempts. So if you can somehow manifest a little bit more in the passing game by taking away from the run game, it probably helps your players stay a little bit healthier. I think if you take a little bit off CMC's plate, you could even throw the ball to CMC, and it's probably going to be less wear and tear on his body. I mean, he catches the ball like a receiver, so why not use him a little bit more in screens and sort of that shorter little game. If you can get the linebackers out, clear the linebackers out. Kyle's a genius at everything basically offensively. So if you can design some plays to just spread everybody out and confuse the defense, but protect your players at the same time, since you have such an accurate quarterback, I think that's important. Purdy did have 90 less attempts in their respective seasons. So, if you could take that 90 and spread the ball out between Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo, and Juwan, and now Ricky Pearsall is going to be a factor as well. You're going to have to factor him in and get him the ball as well. And you can kind of see it with these numbers here, that it would just be 15 more targets to each one of those guys. That's not a huge amount. I mean, if you're playing 17 games, I think the distribution with attempts could, 15 targets in a year, that's just like basically one more target per game for each guy. So that would subtract from the run game. And I think that they might try to go a little bit more 5 wide empty sets this year, because that's sort of, we'll get into that a little bit more too. The offense has not evolved that much. Kyle's offense has not evolved that much from 2016 to 2023. The running back is still featured and featured in the pass game. So, again, just advance that. Devontae Freeman had 65 targets. Tevin Coleman had 40 targets. There was a total of 105 targets to those two running backs. CMC by himself had 83 targets. So, 20 more than Devontae Freeman in those respective seasons. So second most next to Brandon Ayuk. So Christian McCaffrey is essentially a wide receiver. Him and Debo share a lot of the same, traits in that respective regard. So next to him was Juice with 17 targets. Mitchell only had 8, and Mason only had 4. So I also think that another X factor is maybe Garenda will help take some of those targets off CMC's plate to keep CMC fresh for all 17 games into the playoffs. So I think, one thing that was mentioned in this offseason, and one thing that I can't recall who it was, I really can't, but there was, it might have been Steve Young or somebody like that, but they had mentioned that Brock Purdy told Kyle Shanahan that he was more comfortable in a spread out type of offense, which is conducive to today's NFL, right? Like, they're trying to make it a passing league. They're trying to make it more exciting. They're trying to put more points up. So maybe if they transition into Purdy's comfort zone a little bit more, and maybe Kyle, is drawing up some plays specifically for Purdy that they liked, it'll be better suited to his comfort level. So if Kyle makes adjustments a la Brady and Belichick, like if they sit down in the office together and kind of design plays together, I'm not sure if Kyle's ego will allow that, but I hope it does. I hope that they team up together, and I hope that they could get a significant increase in production. Matt Ryan set the blueprint in Atlanta. Like I said, he pioneered a way for Brock Purdy to become an MVP. So Purdy could do himself a justice in watching some of Matt Ryan's Atlanta film. And I think if all those things combined can happen, Purdy is going to be probably in Vegas. He's going to be a front runner for MVP again this year. Like, don't listen to Nick Wright. He's cancer. Like, he's rotting people's brains by telling them Purdy's done and all this stuff. Like, Mahomes might be done. Like, to be honest, like, he had 19 turnovers last year. He was like 8th in QBR. Like, everybody's like so enamored with this guy. And yeah, I get it. He looks like he's the top quarterback in the league at times, but Purdy does a lot of the same things. He makes a lot of off-schedule plays. Like, a lot of people have seen the Iowa State footage where Purdy's like 2 inches from the ground, like falling like completely horizontal, and he chucks it like 4 inches off the ground and somehow completes a pass. Like, I don't even know if Mahomes can do that kind of stuff, so like, people don't give Purdy enough credit. I think this is the year that he's going to stamp his name as somebody who's going to be in the league for a long time and be an elite quarterback. I think people are going to view him this season more in that top 5 range, top 3 range, potentially even number 1. I think he has the ability to take over that number 1 spot if he just runs the gauntlet and just plays out of his mind. So anyway, I think that these factors, if they can just be tweaked a little bit, I think that it bodes well for the Niners. It bodes well for Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. So for contrast, I just wanted to quickly look at the entire picture statistically for the 2016 Falcons and the 2023 Niners in terms of targets and receptions. So in 2016, obviously Julio Jones, no surprise there, had 83 receptions. He had 129 targets. So Matt Ryan was really trying to force the ball to Julio. Sanu, who had a cup of coffee in San Francisco, was the second most targeted receiver. Devontae Freeman, the running back, third. So you can see the similarity there already with Freeman and Christian McCaffrey in regards to the attention in the pass game. And then you have Taylor Gabriel, another running back, Tevin Coleman, the tight end, Jacob Tamme, and then the list kind of goes from there. With the Niners, Brandon Ayuk was essentially the Julio Jones of this offense, but they were just running it so much that, there's almost a 30 target disparity between Julio Jones and Brandon Ayuk in those respective seasons. McCaffrey was the second most targeted, so 83 there. He had more targets than Mohamed Sanu, so he's essentially being used as a wide receiver. And then Kittle, obviously, there with 90. Debo 89, so Debo had less than the tight end. The wide receiver 2 had less than the tight end, and then Jawan, and Juice, Ray, kind of the Aldrick Robinson type guy, or Taylor Gabriel type guy, and then Elijah Mitchell way down the list. 8 targets. Ronnie Bell had 13. Jordan Mason 4, and it just kind of goes down from there. So you can kind of see like it's all front loaded on both squads. So just wanted to take a really quick look at that and kind of just compare those just to kind of see the similarities. And you can see there's a lot of similarities. The running backs are being targeted in the pass game, and that's just Kyle's MO. I think he can do it more this season. I think that especially if they can mix in Garendo. If Elijah Mitchell can stay healthy, he can catch out of the backfield really well too. So obviously Elijah Mitchell has to stay healthy, and that's just been a challenge throughout his career. So, but I really love Elijah Mitchell when he's healthy. I think he essentially could be a running back 1. I think he could go start for like Dallas or somebody like that. Dallas doesn't really have anybody. They got Zeke the Ewok, and a couple other guys that I don't know. I don't know who their running back's going to be, to be honest with you. They probably do. They're probably excited about whoever and think they're going to the Super Bowl again. But anyway, that's besides the point. Just wanted to quickly look at those few things. And yeah. So kind of just my final thoughts here, and just to kind of recap. I think Purdy will once again be a front runner for the MVP if he stays healthy and plays the entire year. I mean, he's got all the weapons around him. That's everybody's argument all the time. He's got a loaded roster. Anybody could do it, but not anybody could do it. Hoyer couldn't do it. Garoppolo could. I mean, kind of sort of did. Garoppolo was pretty efficient when he was with the Niners, but Purdy's kind of on a different level than he's got a different processor than Jimmy. So, I think the Niners and Kyle need to adapt to the league and start passing just a little bit more, just a smidge more. I'm not saying like go 5 wide every play and just forget about the running back or put, McCaffrey out there. Although sometimes I think that they can motion McCaffrey out and have an empty set. And, I think that's a mismatch. That's a huge mismatch. If you have Kittle out there, you got, CMC out there. If you got all these star players out there, you got Ricky out there, you got Debo out there, you got Ayuk out there. I mean, Jawan, you could really screw up a defense if they've got to go to their 4th cornerback or their 4th DB or safety, or if linebackers are having to cover Kittle and CMC, that's just a total mismatch. So I think if they can adapt just a little bit, not a ton, and I think they will. If there's like a 10% increase in pass attempts, what does that look like? If there's a 15% increase in pass attempts, what does that look like? I think the Niners have the quarterback now to do it. I think that Purdy can put up, phenomenal numbers. He broke the franchise record in passing yards last year. I think if they can, if the play design can be a collaboration with Purdy and Kyle, and Purdy can have his input on things, and I think they do. I think they do have those conversations, but if they can do it more, I think that the sky's the limit for Kyle and Brock. Thank you guys so much for staying till the end of the video. I appreciate you. I love this saying, so I'm going to steal Pat McAfee's. I'm going to keep saying it. I don't care if it's tacky to rip somebody off, but he said it really well. So be a friend, tell a friend, like, share, subscribe, all those fun things. And as always, guys, thank you. Stay faithful. We'll see you next time.